Hi, everyone. This is Kristen, and we're in our Tell All Tuesday for February 2nd, and I am so blessed to have Angie Bell with me, and she has been, along with me, working within the fertility industry. She's going, 15 or 16 years now, and I just want to give you a little update and inform you who she is. So Angie, welcome Angie first. Hi, hon.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to finally be on to Tell All Tuesday with you.
Oh, I'm so excited too, because mostly in the past it's been me Skyping into your amazing events that you have for women. And so now we both can see each other, which is so exciting. But let me just tell everybody, I'm just taking this right off of Angie's website, which is underneath her name when she talks. We have such symmetry because Angie's dedicated to empowering, educating you while you restore health to you and your family. And her vision is to create a simple, individualized health plan that supports you from conception to birth and beyond. And you just said that so wonderfully, because it's before, during, and after that care is so important for women and for men. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So I think what we can start with is just really addressing how the holistic approach using acupuncture and Chinese herb is such a benefit for women going through, and men going through, fertility challenges. And so let's talk as if we're just talking to someone who's brand new, who's just starting off, and share with them what you can expect if you go into your office. What happens?
Sure. So the way that Chinese medicine works is pretty different from Western medicine. So what we look at is, we look at the body from a very holistic point of view, meaning that we're looking at every piece of the body. So when new patients come into the office, we sit down and we have a really detailed health intake. And so we're talking about not just, say, menstrual-related issues, but we're talking about how are you sleeping? What are you eating? What are symptoms that you're experiencing? Do you have acid reflux? Do you have insomnia? Do you have GI problems? Do you have headaches? We take all of that information and we kind of sort it and organize it and assign it to different patterns in the body. And then we take that information, and sometimes, like for me, I would take any kind of Western medicine diagnoses and or Western medicine blood tests, like certainly fertility numbers or your thyroid numbers into consideration. And we create what we call a core diagnosis. And that underlying core diagnosis is an underlying imbalance in the system for which we design a protocol for. So we're not chasing symptoms. We're not just looking at one problem in the body, say irregular menstrual cycles or PCOS. We're looking at the entire system and what the underlying imbalance is. And then we're targeting that underlying imbalance very specifically to heal the body. So it's very different from Western medicine that looks at symptom by symptom by symptom and treats that symptom. This is a much deeper way of healing the body. So that's our kind of process for diagnosis. And then for what I do is I write down a protocol that would include supportive dietary changes, supplements and Chinese herbal medicines potentially, lifestyle changes, and then of course what my recommendations for actual acupuncture treatment would be. And so those are very specific to the individual who is coming in and what their underlying health imbalances are. And so they're a very targeted protocol for that person. And then it's very typical, depending on what's going on for the person, but it's very typical for people to come in for once a week acupuncture treatments. And again, the acupuncture treatment is being supported and is supporting dietary changes, supplement protocols, Chinese herbal medicine protocols, all to to really heal the body's underlying core diagnosis.
So you're an integrated part of their fertility plan, because you and I both speak the language about that creating a holistic plan of looking at, all your bodies, your spiritual body, your emotional body, and your physical body. And what word that kept popping up into my mind when you were talking is the word dis-ease. And it's really because the body isn't at ease, that there's a snowball maybe effect happening. And instead of treating the symptoms, you look at the whole system, if I'm correct, and then address that through the whole systemically to change.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. And I think what sometimes Western medicine doesn't address is when there's an imbalance over here, it pulls things over here out of balance, and then it pulls things out of here out of balance. And so you have to address the system holistically in order to be able to kind of heal the underlying issues, because nothing is in a individual kind of vacuum. It's not just in disorder all on its own. It's affecting other things throughout the system, or throughout the body. So oftentimes I talk to patients about, we're going to make little changes here, little changes here, little changes here, so that we can really have a profound impact on the whole body.
That's so easily understood. I remember way back when I went for a consultation. Part of me, that was just that retraining, because part of me was feeling like, but I'm not doing anything medically. I'm not in a fertility clinic, and I'm not in a treatment, and I'm not taking hormones. And what I found, in my personal experience, and also talking to so many other amazing women, is that doing this is doing something so powerful. And by creating,
it's really about healing.
Right. It's about healing, and then becoming a different way of being, moving forward, while you're trying to get pregnant, while you're pregnant, and then while you're a mom. Because ultimately, you and I share that it's about creating a healthy being, a baby, but also the mom a healthy being.
Absolutely.
And then the family a healthy being, because they're all intertwined, just like you were talking about the body being intertwined.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's a big deal that I think is often overlooked about the entire process from preconception to postpartum, because it really is a significant, like having a baby and getting pregnant and going through fertility process, it has a pretty big impact on the body. And in the United States, I think we overlook the care that we need to give ourselves during that process. So it really is a way of supporting you, your body, the new baby, and your family from start to finish. Not that it ever finishes, but.
Right. Well, what I found was so wonderful about what you do is that you also communicate that to the RE or the medical doctor. So it is a team approach. It is a holistic approach. And so maybe can you talk to me a little bit about the studies that they have been, I read one, but not in depth, about the importance of acupuncture treatment, before egg retrieval, and then after egg retrieval, and then implantation, because I'm sure you addressed that with the overall plan about, the timing of those.
Yeah. It's interesting because those studies were done over 10 years ago now, and they really propelled acupuncture forward in Western medicine when it comes to fertility. So I'm very appreciative of them. And I believe that they're limited to some degree. So they were done, like I said, many years ago, and the first one was done in Germany, and they looked at acupuncture with one treatment directly before and one treatment directly after within 20 minutes of the transfer itself. And the outcomes of the studies were very, very good. I think they were like 60% improvements or something like that from for people who did not have acupuncture at all and those that did have acupuncture. So it's really an amazing tool in that regard, but especially in Massachusetts, the way that hospitals and clinics are set up, it's very difficult to have acupuncture within 20 minutes of the transfer, both on the front end and the back end. If you go to California, the the hospitals are much more integrated, much more comfortable with having Eastern medicine practices right there within the fertility clinics.
Mm-hmm.
But in Massachusetts, you can't do that. So you would have to travel, with the exception of the Domar Center. You would have to travel outside the fertility center. So you could never, or it would be likely stressful and difficult to really replicate the way that they did the study.
Okay.
In personal experience. So the way that I look at those studies is that it really proves to us that acupuncture has a profound effect on the body, a positive, profound effect, especially when it comes to fertility. So what I do with my patients is we work in the months preceding, whether you're trying naturally, we're working for several months preceding maybe getting pregnant. And if you're doing an IVF round or an IUI round, we're working for 1 or 2 months before then to prepare your body for that, for conception, so that you are healthy and ready to receive a pregnancy and to carry a healthy pregnancy. So I find acupuncture far more valuable when you are getting regular treatments,
right,
before, during, and after that process. It's just comparing that kind of a holistic way of getting treated to an individual session before and an individual session after a transfer. I think there's no comparison. And I think that having a more comprehensive treatment in place around the process of getting fertility, the process of trying to get pregnant, is going to have a much, much greater impact on your success rates than just having 2 individual treatment sessions.
Well, the reason why I wanted to talk to you about that is because when I did read that, it left me feeling a little bit like it was like the silver bullet kind of approach. Maybe it was just the article I was reading about it,
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I wanted to discuss, before, during, and after care. So it doesn't exclude someone from after the week of the transfer coming in and continuing their care with within the holistic treatment process.
That's right. And lots of people, it's tough. The fertility process takes a lot out of you sometimes. And so coming in for that kind of like weekly appointments for a period of time, that's not going to fit into everybody's schedule. And so having a treatment before and after transfer is certainly an option, and a wonderful option. But I love having women come in for kind of a more comprehensive treatment than just individual kind of before and after treatments.
Yeah, I think that if that's the only thing financially that a person can manage, then that's a wonderful option. But if you have, the ability to have it more of a ongoing process, that's beneficial too. We're not negating either one, but it's goes back to the holistic way of looking at the treatment plan.
Yeah. But I love that you brought the studies up, because I think that sometimes when we're working with the reproductive endocrinologists, they aren't always aware of the greater picture of how acupuncture can help, and they tend to focus just on those studies. And I think that acupuncture and Chinese medicine has so much more to offer. The studies were wonderful, and acupuncture has so much more to offer women who are going through fertility treatments than just that. So it's good to talk about them.
Thank you. So once you have someone come in and you do the history and you have an appointment, then you create this plan and you partner with them as they go through either a natural cycle or assisted cycle. Mm-hmm. And then, so what do you think? Like I know that within my practice, when I talk to women, there really is a plottable bell curve of the emotional way of presenting during this, it could be traumatic. It could be, this creation cycle. So for you, is there, just that knowing that when you see a client, oh yeah, okay, this is about the time, because I can imagine the 2-week wait, the anxiety period around that.
Mm-hmm. So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
The emotional piece, I think, is a really important piece that, again, is often overlooked. I think women think that they just need to like soldier through and hunker down, and almost feel sometimes that they're not allowed to have emotions around it, or not allowed to admit that they're having a hard time and that this is hard. So I think there is a very plottable, like you say, kind of trajectory around the emotional piece of it. And I really think that the most important thing around that is to find really trusted friends and people in your life that you can share your experience with. And I really emphasize trusted friends, because this is so deeply personal. You really need to be sharing it with somebody who can hear it and be supportive, and not everybody can.
Right. And so how I talk about that is, who do you want on your left and your right? And
that's right. I love that. Yeah.
And being choosy about who you let into the inner circle about this.
Yeah.
And so that's why I so love that about you and your compassion about this, because it's really is life altering. And some of the things that you and I both share when we talk about this, that this process shifts from the baby to really about who you are. You're the male or the female in this process. It could be triggered by a crisis of infertility, even though I don't like to say that. I like to say fertility challenges. And then it really starts the questioning of who you are and how you want to be in the world comes up. And I think, for having a practitioner and having a relationship with someone like you, who gets the whole part of everything during this transformation, into a new you, because, you're changing from a single person or a coupled person into a parent. And that is just huge. And you don't really know what you don't know, right?
That's absolutely right. And there's so much available to us, especially in Massachusetts, but I'm sure in other parts of the country as well, in regards to support. And I wish that more women, number one, knew about them, and that they felt comfortable reaching out and taking advantage of these things. I mean, there's postpartum doulas, there are therapists, there are fertility coaches like yourself that are available each step of the way, that are amazing, incredible resources. And it doesn't have to be a huge time financial investment. You can use these folks kind of as needed. And I think that it's just such an important piece of this process that not many women reach out for. So I think it's important to talk about and make those resources kind of available and known to people.
Well, Angie, you and I had a conversation not too long ago, and I actually was just speaking to a doctor, naturalist, and we were talking about aftercare. We were talking about how women who have experienced fertility issues and come to the end of the journey and have a child, there's a sense of not feeling feeling guilty, or feeling that their feelings are unjust when they're having the typical normal bell curve feelings of postpartum, and the overwhelm and the confusion and the tiredness. And I know we're talking about the, where everybody wants to be, but there is a sense of, not being able to feel those typical normal feelings because of the journey that took you there. And I think that
you're supposed to be so grateful that you have this baby, that you're not allowed to feel the hard piece of it.
Right. And I think once, what I love about you is that you establish a relationship-based way of working with someone, so that after the transition of becoming a mom, regardless if the baby comes through you or to you, there is still that safety net, to go to you to make the body in balance. And I think, there's so much talk about being in balance, work-life balance and body balance, and in a way, I move away from that, not in the context that you're saying, but in real life, what does imbalance look for you? How do you look to be in balance? Some days you do a little bit better days at a time, and other times you don't. But I admire that with you, that I would just like to stress the importance of the relationship that you build. And it's a continuum. So thank you so much. I know we talked before we went live. Oh, sorry about that. About your 3 tips, because we're so into practical implying or practical way of incorporating your suggestions. And I would love to hear 3 of your tips.
Sure. So this, I know we're talking kind of primarily to people who are just starting the journey, but this also really applies, this could apply to anyone on any part of the process. So someone who's just starting, just thinking like, gosh, I think I'd like to start trying to get pregnant, to somebody who's been doing this for a while and maybe we already have started an IVF round or IUI rounds. And so, Kristen, I have to take you with me because I have to plug in my computer. But I'll talk as we go.
We're fading a little bit. Oh, we're on the move, people. We're on the move. Oh, show us your office. Show us the treatment room. I love it.
Sorry, had to plug in the computer. I was going to lose you.
Oh, good. Show us your treatment room. I love this. It's a field.
So this is just my messy office.
Yay. Oh, a messy office. I thought we went on a field trip. This is a first. I love it.
So now we're plugged in, so I'm safe from losing you. But so anyway, these tips are really for anybody along the journey, and I talk about this sort of thing all the time. First, removing things from your diet and your environment that are burdens to your system. And primarily that's toxins. So we're looking at what type of cleaning supplies are you using, try to cut out chemicals in the home from, shampoo and makeup to, what are you using to wash the windows and wash the tub and that sort of thing. But also trying to cut down on conventional vegetables and moving more towards organic veggies, organic meats. So that's kind of one thing is cutting down on, and then the other big thing is processed foods.
Okay.
So moving more towards kind of organics and also whole foods that you're making at home as opposed to things that come out of a package or a box.
Okay.
So that piece of it, we're really trying to decrease the burden on the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next piece of that is increase your core nutrients. And so start just trying to have one or more extra servings of a vegetable or a fruit each day. And what we want to do is just start getting the nutrients increased in your system. The more nutrients your body is getting, the better you're able to turn over cells, the more you're able to heal. So that's a big piece. And one of the ways that I suggest women do that, just because this is easy, not everybody likes it, but oftentimes it's a really easy thing, is to do, I call them fertility smoothies.
Okay.
They're just a green smoothie. So you take a handful of frozen fruit, a handful of some green leafy vegetable. So like kale or spinach, anything you like. And then you can put a protein powder if you want.
Okay.
And then you fill it with some kind of milk substitute. So like almond milk or hemp milk or something like that.
Uh-huh.
You blend it up, and it's just a really amazing way to get nutrients in your diet, because sometimes it's hard to cook vegetables all the time. So if people are looking for the recipe, they can go on my website. It's on there. But also, there's tons of green smoothie recipes online on Pinterest and YouTube and everything.
I love that. The other day, my daughter's friends were over. It was a little bit ago, and I was making them a smoothie, and it was a little ice cream, you know, it was organic ice cream, but I put carrots in it and chopped up apples.
Oh,
And
so
and they're like this, what? You know, I said it was a milkshake.
yeah.
They're like, what? Did you put carrots in here? No. I don't know.
But that's how you do it. You just do little by little. You try to get more vegetables in. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You just start saying to yourself, where can I get one extra serving in here and one extra serving in there?
So I want to ask you a question. So I'm addicted to Whole Foods peanut butter, almond butter that you can grind right there.
Oh yeah, cool.
Have you ever tried it?
Yeah.
And then the organic apple. You know, I think that's a quick, easy way too. I talk about that with my clients too, like just changing it, because you know why, Angie? Because I remember being a really bitter woman and, you know, just thinking, oh, great. Now, one more thing, you know, like the victim part of me was kind of angry that, you know, all right, now I have to, you know, eat kale, you know, and what you said is not, it doesn't, you know, it connects the dots to have a child, but it connects the dots to be a healthy person.
Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes people forget they're just moving forward with this process, and they forget that really the way through this is nurturing yourself.
Right.
So these types of things that I talk to patients about really should be about supporting and nurturing your body, and they shouldn't feel like a job that's hard that you have to say like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. It should feel supportive of you during this process. So you do have to kind of fight a little bit to find a balance, because sometimes women are so they so much want to create a family that they're like, well, I'll just do anything that I could do. Just tell me, you say I shouldn't eat this, I won't eat that. Take this supplement, I'll take that supplement. And that's great. I love dedication, but you have to be very careful to take care of the emotional body too, because if you're doing things where you're feeling stressed out about the process or about the protocol, then you're ignoring the emotional body, and that is that's not going to be healthy. You know, it's just not sustainable.
No, it's not. And what ends up happening is the emotional body becomes the driver, because there's unreleased, you know, emotions that get stuck. I remember saying, you know, if someone told me to go naked in the middle of the street and do a headstand, you know, for an hour every day, I would have done that. And that's
like, you're on it.
Yeah, I'm on that. I don't care who sees me. I'll be
no problem
on my head, upside down.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important to address that, because it's really about moderation.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And what I think too, and I'm going to let you finish quick, but what I think too is really asking yourself, because there's a part of us that feels like, you know, I'm here and this body's here, but just check in with yourself. You know, is this okay changed? Are you going to be okay with this change?
Right.
And you know what's so great is we'll get an internal response. You know, are you okay with, you know, body? Ask permission. You know, I'm going to change now, and we're not going to have a Snickers. You know, we're going to have an apple or a smoothie, and, you know, we're just going to do it for a little while and check it out. You know, it's like making a contract with yourself that you don't feel like forever you're going to have to, you know, be maybe, you know, withholding, you know, and that's a situation that's not, you know, a win-win.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. It's not sustainable. But I talk to women also about, you know, there are certain things that are really important sometimes. Like, you know, we'll talk about maybe giving up alcohol or giving up coffee. And maybe coffee is like that one thing that women like really look forward to in the morning. And the thought of giving up their coffee is just like devastating. So I feel like, well, when there are things that are really important to you, keep those and give something else up that will move your body forward, so that you aren't in that position of feeling overly deprived, and you're not in a position where you're on some strict protocol where you're feeling like a failure if you veer off one day.
Right.
So,
perfect.
Even like some women will come in and say, should I stop dyeing my hair through like an IVF treatment? And for some women, that's like no biggie deal. They don't mind that. But for a lot of women, not dyeing their hair is really a big deal. And so I say, move forward with dyeing your hair because that's important to you, but give up toxins somewhere else.
Right.
Look at, your cleaning supplies and your shampoos so that you're cutting out exposure to toxins in another part of your daily life. But keep in the things that are really important to you, and or find ways to keep them in that are a little bit healthier.
So just to talk a little bit, and then we have to hear your number 3, but your number 1 about removing the toxic cleaners is you know what I love? I love Target, because you get the red card and everybody thinks, oh my God, organic cleaners, how much more is that, whatever. But they have that whole line. They have Myers and they have this whole great line, and then you use your Target card and you still get 5% off. So the margin is very small to make the change to a more healthy cleaning system within your house.
It's true. And there are a lot of kind of like DIY things that you can do to clean. Like the primary things that I use to clean the house, especially tubs, toilets, sinks, those sorts of things, are baking soda and vinegar. And they're way cheaper, and they're non-toxic, completely non-toxic, and they're great. And people think like, oh, there's no way they get as clean with that stuff, but they do.
Right.
Even if you don't want to use those things, there are plenty of natural cleaners there, and cleaners that use enzymes that are fantastic.
Right.
They really do a great job. And so I think it's, again, you just have to figure out what you feel comfortable with, like what works best for you, but is a little bit of a healthier option. And there's so much out there. Like you said, there's Target, but there's also things that you can make at home.
Perfect. So so far, number 1 was remove burdens to your system. Number 2 was, what did I say? You increase the core nutrients. And so number 3?
So number 3 is about, which we've talked about a lot today, and I just think it's such an important thing, and I really think women don't pay attention to it because of kind of societal pressure, but it's really about supporting the emotional body and having fun, because this process can be all-consuming sometimes, especially if you've been trying for any period of time and you haven't gotten pregnant yet. Sometimes
and there's been losses too, and you're grieving and heartbroken, and it takes energy to have fun. It's so important.
But I think the tendencies, just the natural tendencies, are for us to start isolating a little bit, staying in more often. And while that can be really nurturing to do things like having a healthy dinner at home with your loved one, or taking a bath, or doing yoga in your living room, it's also really, really important to reach out and continue to connect with people. So like we kind of touched upon earlier, there are lots of resources. Certainly acupuncture is one of them. Certainly fertility coaching is another. There are therapists who specialize in coaching and treating women through the fertility process. And there are meetup groups. There's tons of support. There's Resolve of New England, which I know you know well, that is just so supportive of women and connects other women going through fertility challenges as well. So I think it's just so important to reach out and stay connected to people. And like, even if you have to force yourself, you have to continue having fun.
You do. And that's so important, because what I talk about within, for yourself, but also for your partner, is really scheduling something and stick to it. That there's no way of breaking that. And regardless if you feel lousy or if you don't want to go, just go for a little bit, and don't discuss this for that period of time. Make it about just having fun. And what is so powerful too is setting the intention that, when I go out to this, I'm gonna focus on fun. And you know what? Fun finds you. Right. If you set that intention for that little time, and we're not saying you have to be the life of party for a whole month, but if you say for an hour, I'm going to meet someone for tea or whatever, and focus on fun, fun will come. And it's so powerful.
And sometimes you don't feel like doing it. You're at home and you made the plan and you're saying to yourself, like, but I don't feel like going. And it's that piece of like inertia, like you're home and you're not moving and that you have to just kind of get over. Because on the other side of it, once you're there and you're connecting with people, it's that makes all of the difference. So it's really, it can be hard, but it's a really important piece of this whole process.
It is. And creating a buddy system. Way back when I write about it in Love and Infertility, there really wasn't this great access of creating community for this. There was resolve, but that was not immediate. So I started accosting women in the center. Hey, what are you in for? What drugs you taking? And I was kind of labeled like, oh, don't sit next to her. But that's how I created a buddy. I got my fertility buddy, and that's why I feel so strongly, through these Tell All Tuesdays. If you want a buddy, send me an email, and then magically the universe brings people together. I was in Florida doing a presentation, and this woman came up to me. She's like, I feel so isolated. The same thing that you and I were talking about. She wanted to try yoga, but she didn't want to go alone, and yada, yada. Lo and behold, there was another woman who came up a little bit after her. Now, we were in Orlando. These women were an hour away from where we were. They lived in the same complex. Isn't it crazy? Like, once you put your intention out there. And so then they decided that they would go to yoga together, and they were like, well, you go by my house every day, and I don't even know you live in my same complex. And I was thinking, the universe is so supportive. So on those dark days, even when we don't feel supported, we are. There's like magical, magic at work. So
yeah. And I think it's next week that you're doing your colorful socks.
Show us your socks. That is last year it was so well received.
I love it so much.
There's so many communities online, and this woman who has a heart of gold started this community on Facebook, and she wrote a little blog that'll be up on my blog I think today or tomorrow. But she started this, and it's grown so much that there's offshoots. And what you do is you get connected with a sock buddy.
Oh my gosh. And
you send a care box with transfer socks and retrieval socks. And I look at the love that these women share and the pictures of the boxes that people send. And like one would, look at me, I'm getting all, one woman sent a blanket and matching socks and a necklace, and you think about it, it's so loving. Like the way of how women were in community before comes through the internet, and how amazing it is. So it's show us your socks.
I love it.
I'm asking people to post pictures of their transfer socks on my Facebook. A lot of people didn't want to do that publicly. So what ended up happening last year, people just posted them privately to people are texting in while we're talking about it, to my page. And if you want a fertility sock buddy, IVF sock buddy, there'll be information about how you can connect into that group. And it's so powerful.
It's like the perfect way to combine connecting with other people with fun, because you're going through this. It's a process. You're going through it. It's something to do, and you have to focus on kind of what's going right and some of the positivity and just ways of connecting with folks, and even just like a laugh throughout the day. Like, that's how you do it. That's how you get through it.
And that circles back to what you said at the beginning, because I love how you did that with your hands, a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. The sub fertility, or the sub who you are, changes the whole. And so you're such a blessing to everyone. And I know that you can talk to you through Skype, and maybe you're not in Massachusetts, but you want to speak with Angie. There's ways that you do that also.
Absolutely. And if people ever have questions about kind of the fertility process or how acupuncture can help, anyone can email me. My email is on my website, or call the office and set up a consult. I'm happy to answer questions. And helps us out whether or not acupuncture is right for you in for wherever you are in the journey.
Well, thank you so much for your time in this Tell All Tuesday, and it's gonna.
Thank you so much. That was so fun.
It was awesome. You're so good. I love you. And this will be up on YouTube, and we'll be posting it. And thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.